Hello everyone. For my experiment, I'm going to be demonstrating the rock cycle using crayons. So here I have some crayons and then some foil. And I'm going to start off with the crayons as rocks. And I'm going to give them some weathering to produce sediment. And then I'm going to deposit those sediments into layers and then compact it to create a sedimentary rock, as it would happen in nature. And then once I have a sedimentary rock, I'm going to take that sedimentary rock and I will subject it to some heat in order to alter it and represent metamorphism to create a metamorphic rock. And then once I have that metamorphic rock, I'm going to give it more heat to produce a melt. And then once that cools and solidifies, we will have an igneous rock. So here is my sedimentary rock that I formed, right here. I think this is a pretty good representation of what happens in nature. This is what I was kind of expecting and was hoping for. So I started out with some crayons, and then I shaved them down in order to simulate weathering. And then I put them into layers and squeezed them together. And this is what I got. So I think it's a lot like in nature how a rock would be weathered down either mechanically or chemically and then transported by wind, ice, water, and then deposited into layers just like I did here. And then pressure compacts them together to form a new rock like this. So that is my sedimentary rock. Here is a metamorphic rock. I took the original sedimentary rock and I applied heat to it in order to change the form of the rock, and this was the result. This is about what I expected to happen. Although this experiment does not represent metamorphism very accurately. In nature, a metamorphic rock is the result of high heat and or pressures that change the mineral form of a rock. This happens at subduction zones or meteorite impacts or at convergent boundaries. This can happen to rocks. But when they happen in nature, the original rock, before it becomes a metamorphic rock, does not actually become melted. It doesn't melt all the way. So when I did this, I did bring it to its melting point, where in nature that doesn't happen. So really, I would say this is more like an igneous rock. And in order to make it more accurate, we would have to do something where the rock could be changed without actually bringing it so close to a complete melt. So there is the metamorphic rock. So here is an igneous rock. What I did here was I took the metamorphic rock that we had, I melted it down, and then when I put it into a bowl of ice water, it solidified into this. This was the result right here. I'm impressed with the result. I think that it accurately represents how an igneous rock could be formed in nature. Because in nature, when a rock is subjected to temperatures above its melting point, it will be melted down. And then when it solidifies, it will form an igneous rock just like this. So that is how you can show the rock cycle using just some crayons and some foil and a heat source. And I think that little experiments like this could be very helpful because other than the metamorphism, I think you represented things very well. So when you can do things in a way that can accurately represent how things work in the real world, I think it makes it super cool and super easy. So that's it.